like we need to take logistics. We need to take these. I'll make this up. These pallets of to whatever down to the next base over there to get it ready to.
Yes.
In between that, you have to have the vision as well when it comes to gathering the right people to do the right job. You have to know all the paperwork and so you can pass all the tests when it comes to like flight weight and things like that, because you got to go through so many steps. So without that vision and having people in those positions for you to actually be successful in that mission, you couldn't do it without vision.
Good point.
So that's sort of how we kind of looked at it in the military. It's always a mission.
You got some paper?
Yeah, sure.
I didn't bring my journal.
Paper.
Council, yeah.
You know, one of the things, just to recap what you said, Ty,
This piece of paper and
I always look at you know the flip side of things all the time. Does it keep things in perspective? What would be your response to military leadership being a flawed in a conceptual way due to the fact of civilian oversight, number one, and number two, that you could never, except for being called a traitor or committing treason, that you always have to be true to the mission. No matter what leadership tells you the mission is, what leadership tells you what the mission is. So I look at military leadership as being flawed in that way. So you can't course correct unless you get treated as a traitor or something like that. What is your response to that?
one more time.
Yeah, say that one more time.
Oh man.
All
right. Okay. Well, I'm okay. I'm recording, so you know that. Anyway,
Okay.
Military leadership, in my mind, because I always look at things in a conceptual way, in a critical way, is to me in its conception is flawed, and I say flawed not because of the fact that leadership shouldn't be there, but the fact that you have two entities that are involved with the military leadership. Civilian oversight is one, which changes quite a bit from administration to administration. And then from the military leaders, the hierarchy of the leaders, where they say the mission has to be pursued and attained, successful or not. And if you don't adhere to that principle of adhering and staying to the mission, then you could be treated as a traitor or committing treason. So that's my take on the flawed part about the military leadership. So I ask you guys, what is your response to that? So Ty, you take it from here.
Okay, so you said military leadership, and you said there's really two big things about the leadership portion of this flawed.
Civilian oversight.
Right. And military leaders.
Yes.
So I'll start with civilian oversight. With civilian oversight, it's really it's high. It's really high up there. And they try to balance it out with all the chief of staffs and things like that work along with the civilian leadership. But the bureaucracy between that two is filthy. It's really filthy. So there are things that me personally, which I was so down at the bottom of the rung when it comes to that, you don't really have a choice.
Okay.
So that's a piece that I would agree with you that is flawed, because you don't have a choice.
Okay.
Because what they say up here is what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Now, whether the mission is going to be successful or not, I think most of the time they're somewhat successful. Like I'll give you an example. Just my opinion, Iraq.
Okay.
Had a lot to do with the civilian leadership. military
Personal
leadership,
vendettas.
and I think it came from a lot of civilian.
Okay.
So the military jumped in there. Now, what we're really good at, military, and I'm going to mix this in with media.
Okay.
So we would go in there, have a plan, and we said, this is what we're going to do. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, we can do that up to like, I'll give a percentage wise. Let's say, for instance, that we are looking from the outside, maybe it looked like we're only 60% clear on the mission, at 60% that we actually executed what we need to do. The rest of the 40%, that's being wiped away. It is never shown through the media or anything like that. Now with us, that 60% gives us a lot of, what you want to say, we feel like the mission was complete.
Okay.
Put it like that.
Okay.
So we turn a blind eye on that because as America, we're the best.
Okay.
Whether we fail or not, we don't look at it like that.
Oh, okay.
We look at it like,
I got
we
you.
won. Like Iraq, personally.
Right.
I'll not say Iraq, I say Afghanistan. I think we lost. I think we really lost.
Okay.
We spent billions and billions of dollars, and they didn't spend all that much money, but they knew what they were doing.
Right.
And since we had these campaigns out there with, the media, and you got the generals saying we did this and we did that, and then they showed a video showing that they blew things up. It looks like we demolished them like in 1 week when we first that was Iraq. We went in 1 week and just demolished everybody. What about the long run? Just like with Afghanistan, the long run, we didn't win. I don't think we won personally.
Wow.
We did what we could. We had some wins, but overall, we won battles. But I don't think we overall won the war.
Okay.
I think that we did very good at some of the battles, some really good ones. But at the very end, we're the one walking away with our tails. Well, I wouldn't say our tails between our legs, just that it was worthless because we spent so much money on something that we're not really getting nothing out of.
Yeah.
We say we tell people that we won, but I can't go back to Vietnam. I hear this other Vietnam vets say something like that. It's true to this day with these new wars. Now,
Wow.
You want to talk about back in, I think it was back in 2000 with, who was it? Kosovo. We went over to help with them.
Okay.
I think that was more of a help because there was a genocide going on over there. And of course, whenever we go in for a mission, it's always, what do we get out of it? We got to get something out of us. We're not going over there. So that's how I see it. We don't lose up here.
Mentality,
Mentality. We don't lose. We're winners. We're on top. We're the world's biggest superpower. Yeah. So losing is not an option. Either way, whether it's on paper, whether it's through media, whether it's through mission, there's no option to lose.
Okay.
That's how I see it.
Okay.
And military leadership, they support it. Yeah. Because you got to make your bosses happy. That's still big. You got to make them happy. You got to tell them whatever you need to know, and you try to make it happen no matter how you need to make it happen. Okay. So that's how I see it. It is flawed. It definitely is flawed. Okay. Especially the politics.
I love the military leadership because it's so stringent. You have a captured, because of the commitment that a young person has to make to the military, to the Corps, whatever Corps that you're in. Like I said, you just can't walk away from it. That's the reason why I think it's successful on the levels that it is. But it's the other part, it's that indiscriminate part, that psychological part that you just mentioned. That could be, the lines can be blurred as far as who you think is successful, who's not successful. So I guess as a civilian, you might have one look at it, which is almost the opposite view, and then a person who's actually in the military, because they know what goes into the mechanics and the actual all the things, the different things that you have to do to, to commit to it and to finish it, to complete it. What it takes, and because of that, there. I don't know. I mean, what
Well, there's a lot of just think about this in the military too. We also we work with other, like I worked with the Army before. I worked with the Air Force before. I worked with since I was a CB in the Navy. We work with the Marines quite often. So you work with different groups, but at the same time, there's a lot. Even working within your own group or just in the Navy, there's a lot of compartmentalization. So you might not know what's going on over here,
right?
And you're doing a piece that's going to help them out. You won't even know it. So that compartmentalization plays a major role when it comes to saying we won or we didn't win.
Okay.
Because it depends on who was doing what. Because when I was there, we first went there in when the Iraqi war. I was stationed with the Spec War, which is the SEALs, and our mission was to go over there and to. You remember back in Desert Storm? Was it Desert Storm? It was Desert Storm. They had the oil platforms out there, and they were just lighting them on fire. Their own people lighting them on fire. Well, our mission was to go over there and prevent that. So we didn't want them to light those on fire.
Of course not.
So we trained for that. We had the SWIT guys, there were special boat guys that actually they were like the taxi cab drivers for the SEALs, and we all had our mission to go over there and take care of that. To make sure that didn't happen this time. Yeah. So in our eyes, our group, our team, we did what we did.
Right.
We won.
Right.
One was lit on fire, and then you have other units that's going out there doing their mission. So like I said, it's a lot of compartmentalization, a lot of different targets that are going on out there. And usually on the on TV, you only see the main target. Yeah. You see the tanks going through the desert. You know, you see the big mission, but that's a small piece. Right. Compared to what's going on. Some of the small pieces could fail. Just as well as the big one, but you can't keep your eye on everything and they don't always tell you about everything. So they keep you aware of that.
That's before you go. I like the compartmentalization stuff, and I think both of you guys would agree that if we as African people, our community, our collective, wants to be successful at getting sovereignty and whatever sovereignty looks like, we're gonna have to compartmentalize our efforts as well. You know what I mean? That's why we need to have different leaders doing different things with a certain level of expertise. You talk about that a lot, Tdka.
And that's what it is.
Yeah, and sometimes we may not know, and we shouldn't really. Sometimes we shouldn't know. We should have a common cause, a common end result that we want to achieve. But sometimes we got to do a lot of things in secret.
You do.
And we can learn a lot from the military on that particular aspect. But I'll let Tdka.
No, I'll just listen to you all.
Give us the feedback, man. I got you on camera.
Just following up, I can sense that you all are talking about the same thing, but different aspects of it. And usually when people are talking to me, I try to put in order what I see. That the military has a structure and system in place that people have to follow. The civilian sector doesn't. People can just leave. So you can get your leadership principles in the military, but they have to follow the assignment they're given, or they're either snatched from rank or punished in some way, sanctioned in some way. With civilian, they could just say, I ain't doing it. You're a leader, and you telling them what needs to be done, and they say, I'm not doing that. That's one I'm not doing.
One of the main reasons why we fail.
Primary. I want to do it this way. I want to do it this way.
Leaving the military and from what that structure is and going to civilian, you experience that I don't know. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. I went through that. I'm still going through it. It's a tough one because I'm managing people and telling them what to do. And normally in the military, they know they have to do it unless they're going to get written up. Get your written warning, verbal warning, written warning. You get a third one, the same thing, you're going to see the captain. And the captain's going to decide whether or not you're going restriction or you get kicked out. And with restriction, they take 30 to 45 days half pay. While you're on restriction, living on base, They're marching you to the child hall to eat. They're marching you everywhere you need to go, and you living in the barracks.
Yes.
So, a civilian, I couldn't do any of that.
Mm.
The only thing I can do is take somebody in there, give them a good butt check.
Mm.
Even that was tough because they think that's a little bit harsh in the civilian world.
Right.
They think that's really harsh.
Right.
And then you have HR.
A what?
HR.
Okay.
Human resources.
Okay.
So you have human resources. We had somewhat human resources, but our human resources was the highest ranked person that was in. That was our human resources, really. I mean, you if you want to take it that far, the captain, you can take that as like human resources. But everybody knew there was rules because there's a book with all the rules and regulations. And as a manager, you keep this with you all the time. And you're constantly looking it up, and boom, you follow the procedure, you go there. There is no deviation. This is what it is, and you didn't have to really worry about that. Civilian, when I was working at the county, they had some rules, but they were so vague.
Vague and lax.
Vague. They were vague. No, the rules were vague, but the other managers were lax.
Yes.
You couldn't get another manager to say, "Hey, these are the rules. This is what you're supposed to be following." Like I had some people, and I told their manager, "Hey, they did this wrong. They're not supposed to do it this way. They're messing this up. These are the rules. Please enforce it." Nah, they enforce nothing.
Right.
They enforce nothing. Now, if I was in the military, first of all, I would chew their butt out quickly and turn that around. Then I would go to their leader and say, "Hey, this is what happened." And that person would probably punish him as well. But we don't have that out here, so it's so frustrating. It's like, how do you manage people if nobody follows the rules? That's that civilian military.
Yeah,
As Tdka pointed out, the rules, but
Right.
no rules.
Right.
It was so frustrating because it seemed like rules that they've given us in the civilian world, they're just they're something like a guide.
Yeah.
Not really a hard stop on anything, it's just a guide. Unless it really embarrasses somebody or something like that. But otherwise it was just a guide. It was nothing. You can you can break it and somebody went, well, okay, like I had some guy, it was a parts department, he was a lead. He went out and told he called somebody because he needed some parts or something like that. And he told them to use their credit card. He said, "Go ahead and use our supplies department's credit card so we can get this part." Knowing good well, just because they had it on file, you're not supposed to do that. It wasn't his credit card. And I told him, I was like, "Why would you do that?" He said, "Well, I said, "No, but that's not the rules. That is not the rules." Parts guy was like, "Why would you use my card?" So we called HR in. And that's a big offense because you using somebody's. That's like using somebody's card that's not yours.
Right.
And it's in the rules. When you get a purchase called a purchasing card, there's rules behind it. He doesn't have that. He didn't go through the training, so he knows he's not supposed to do that. Well, HR comes down and they say, "Well, he didn't know. We'll just give him a warning for now." Oh man, I was hot. I was hot. If we were in the military, oh man, he wouldn't. He'd been done for.
Yeah.
First of all, I don't think he would have ever done that anyway. Most people wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the rules are different in the civilian world.
Yeah. So, what I was getting at was what I've been trying to do with that is put it in there in the middle. I slipped it in. And what I slipped in was with Maat,
You talking about the book, Maat?
the new version.
Yeah.
Was guiding principles tailored to movement. You see. Other people's moral texts, I don't want to call them moral texts, just call them religious texts, they can organize themselves around some of the scriptures because they are just like, you can't do this, you can't do this, if this happens, you should do this. So I wanted to make certain that was in there too. So I used that to get another 100 pages in there around that.
Yeah.
And I call it the ABCs of something.
Yeah.
But I'm saying to you, that you both of you brought it up.
Mm-hmm.
There's this military, that it's a professional military, and it means in substance you have rules, regulations, you have some oversight for that, and if you don't carry your work out attached to those rules and regulations and your responsibilities and authority, then there's a rank system that imposes its will on the people who didn't carry out the work. Well, in civilian, as we're talking about it, people just can do what they want and know that, okay, well, I don't have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I heard you, but I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
And what you gonna do?
Yep.
That's how they looking at it.
Yeah. Exactly it. That's exactly
you can't do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm do what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's clear to me that we have got to find a way through our moral systems to regulate behavior, not only attitudes, because moral systems regulate attitudes essentially, but some of these religions try to regulate behaviors.
Yes.
And so we've got to find a way to, through our moral systems, regulate attitudes and behaviors. That would be my point. So I do think that what you all said about this whole business of mission, visions, civilian oversight, military leadership, and then you're discussing clearly the differences between military and civilian, and how in your practice you've seen how from military it's so structured, people are in place, they carry their job out professionally, and then when you get to civilian, you may have some rules and regulations. They're not as stringent and formal, but people don't carry them out anyway.
Exactly.
Even like in relationships.
Let's not go there.
I got to bring it up. But they can tell you, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. They can tell you, I'm going to do this, my brother. And the next thing you know, they decide, I ain't doing that no more.
Yeah.
And you still doing it.
Yeah.
You're just like, okay, well, I gave my word. My word is important. I'm going to keep doing what I said I would do. So, yeah. But I do think you need to broach that in that book.
I think I'm going to touch on it. Just kind of wrap things up a little bit, because I think we're in like 22 minutes or something like that. I was telling Ty earlier before you came, right, about what we need to do as a collective, right? And it goes right into what we were just talking about, what you just said about, I don't have to do this, I don't have to do that. Well, damn it, you will have to do something when the shit hits the fan.
That's a certainty.
Okay, it's almost going to be like war. You already know. You know how the pressure is on, where you know you're going to lose your life if you don't do what you've been trained to do. How are you going to survive? You have been trained in nothing. As a people. So what you say is perfectly, you expounded on that perfectly, Tdka. And in our conversation, I was getting ready to say, before I lost my track of mind, in order for us to attain the things that the Portuguese did and the Europeans did when they came over to the so-called New World, they knew they were securing that land, conquering those people for their people. For their generations of people coming behind. Right. They knew that they had exhausted all the natural resources from Europe anyway. The natural resources that they wanted to, oh man, this New World got every damn thing. They even got new animals that taste good. The fruit tastes good. Everything is good over here. So we're going to kill anything that's in the way, and we taking this.
That's right.
So our children can have a great life. So what did they do? They sacrificed. How many Portuguese and Spaniards and French and British, Germans, anybody else that wanted to come over here, how many people do you think lost their lives in that mission?
That's what you mentioned. How many people lost their lives because of the mission?
That too.
Yeah.
That too. But I'm saying, but their mission.
Their mission, yeah.
Their conquering mission. They didn't care who they had to roll over to get what they wanted to get.
That's right.
So when do we wake up, Tdka? Remember I told you when we had that conversation about Europeans now going out into space and all these other things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they have a mission. They say, we're going to conquer space now. So before the 60s and the 70s, we didn't know about no black astronauts. Okay, but before that happened, we know that astronauts lost their lives, not just in the space capsules, but also in those experimental flights, those high altitude planes, and all those different things. A lot of those pilots lost their lives because they knew that there was another horizon that they wanted to conquer. So as black people, we need to think on sacrifice.
That's right.
And also the possibility of us actually losing our lives. And until we get there, we're not getting shit.
I agree.
And I think so.
I agree.
I would think that's a real good point. Sacrificing. I can hear somebody saying, well, we sacrificed, we died through slavery and blah, blah, blah,
That's
blah,
not the same thing.
No.
And blah, blah, we lost so many lives. Blah,
What's that going down the road there? Is that street over there?
Yeah, that's
Oh, okay. I just keep seeing things go by. Okay.
I can hear people say something like that. I can hear them saying that. Even though it was apples and oranges.
Yeah, but that wasn't our mission, though.
It wasn't our mission.
Yeah.
And they weren't sacrificing for that mission.
Right.
They died because the people killed them.
Yeah, somebody else's
See,
mission.
that's a whole different story.
Yeah, we're talking about our mission.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When are we going to die for our mission?
That's right. When you fall in line with something and die, that's not your mission. You use somebody else's mission.
Right.
They told you to work. They told you to get to work, and you got to work. Now, if you fought them and died, that's a whole different sacrifice. You fought them, and they killed you. They had to kill you. You killed as many of them. That's a whole different sacrifice.
Right.
But when you just let somebody do whatever they want to do to you, and then you die,
Right.
you didn't. That was no sacrifice.
It's funny. Just to expound on what I had mentioned earlier, they had made their mistakes.
Yeah.
So everything we do is not going to be perfect.
No.
We're going to falter and fail along the way. So as we make our mistakes, we still may die. It's like those astronauts when they died, and those pilots when they died. But guess what? They're now going to the moon.
Yep.
They're now going to Mars. They got the space, what's that? The space platform out there. What do they call that thing right there?
ISS.
The space station. They got all this stuff going on. But it took sacrifice to get all that.
Yes, it did. Yeah.
It took sacrifice to get that.
And then we can still make. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, you are.
We can still make. We can still sort of the mistakes. We can minimize those because a lot of people. Stuff has already been done before.
Right.
Why don't we just use that? We're gonna make minimum.
Oh, we should.
Mistakes, but it's gonna be minimum
We should.
than what it used to be.
And let me we should steal every damn thing.
Like Chinese.
You know what I mean?
Like
We should steal every damn thing, just like the Chinese did. You know what I mean? Look, there's nothing sacred in this world right now.
Nothing.
They stole everything. Well, we can steal it back.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even call it stealing.
Yeah, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying we just take it. And
Just take it.
That's what we should have been doing anyway. We just hadn't gotten to
Hey, man, it's time for us to take ownership.
Yeah.
We don't care. Okay. You using it right now? Okay. Well, it's our turn now.
Yeah.
Well, I'm with you. So, as I said before, I'm at clearly this whole discussion about faith and about sacrifice and about making a decision around mission and, as you brought up, vision. All of those things are at the core of leadership that we're missing.
Right.
You see, we're missing that. And we actually end up trying to talk our way through stuff we should be doing.
Right.
Exactly.
That is what I meant when I said that.
Yeah, I know.
I meant when I said that you may start doing something and you were people who say they agree with what you're doing. And then at a certain point, they say, I ain't doing that no more. And there you are having to make a decision. Okay, they're not doing it no more. Should I still be doing it? Well, you're looking at me. I'm continuing to move forward. So I say all that to say that we are going to have to get to a point where we enforce those rules, like the military. Yeah, I'm just trying to point that out, that we're going to have to move out of that middle part there. We're not even in the middle part yet.
Yeah.
See, we're on the civilian side where they're saying, I ain't doing it, and F you, no matter what you put into it, F you. I ain't doing that. This is what I want to do. I want to do this. Well, in the military, on this whole side over here, you got to do it,
Right.
or you don't need to be there.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. But on this other side,
See, this is a master at work with the notes. You notice how he did his notes like that?
It's going to end up being a diagram.
Yeah, that's what
So
you
I'll
said.
thank you all.
You know, I'll be looking.
Yeah, it's going to end up being a diagram. You know that.
I already know that. When I saw that diagram, I said, "Oh, that's going in the book."
That's going to be in the book. You're right. Because Shai was talking about mission and vision and talking about the rank system,
Right.
and then you were talking about civilian oversight and military leadership.
Right.
Diagram it
And
all.
so I'm
Yeah.
a picture of how that works.
I already knew where he was going already.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
All right. So okay, we were.
Have you seen? Okay, we say we need to enforce these rules. Eventually, we're gonna have to do this.
Mm-hmm.
You have organizations that do something like that, but a lot of times they turn to cults and things like
Yeah,
that.
that's true.
The line.
I think
the line?
they started off there. You see, they started off as a cult. So I say all that to say, this is what Mkuu brought up, this whole business of the civilian oversight.
Mm-hmm.
You see, civilian has his police,
Yep.
has his police force and all the
Right.
president and, people who are in these key positions, mayor, governor, who make decisions around the paramilitary force.
Mhm.
But it's still a civilian force.
Right.
You got me?
Mhm.
Right.
The military leadership is purely, a rank system where you got to do what they tell you to do.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And so they can turn that civilian force on who they want to.
Yeah.
They ain't gonna bother Trump in them
No.
in what he's doing. You
Mhm.
see, they could have turned that civilian force on him. They hadn't done it, but they could have.
Mm.
But they turned it on Karinga
Yeah.
for what he was doing.
Right.
So we do have to find a way to. We do have to find a way to make some decisions around.
Okay.
But that's why I'm forcing my hand on the integrity part.
Yeah.
That's why I'm forcing.
Oh, yeah.
my hand. Yeah, because we will actually know what we got through the integrity.
Right.
Yeah.
See, we know who ain't gonna do it.
Right.
We know who ain't gonna keep their word.
Yes.
Through the integrity.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, so we know. It's like, okay, you can't be in here with us. You don't keep your word.
Right.
Mhm.
I think that's
We talked about that earlier, didn't we?
Yeah, that's the route we got to go first
Yeah.
before we, begin to put some teeth
Right.
to the other
Right.
side.
Right.
When we finish the leadership book, but before we get to the teeth,
Right.
we've got to have the integrity enforcement. It's like, okay, I want you hanging around me if you're gonna do that.
Mhm.
You doing that? Okay, that's not in our book.
Mhm.
So I don't want you around me.
Right.
That's integrity.
Mhm.
But at a certain point, like Mkuu said, it's going to get to the point, it gets so hot, we're going to have to do what we got to do. And it's going to be forceful.
Yeah.
Then. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
That's what he's talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Enforceable.
Enforceable. That's right.
Yeah.
Forceful and enforceable. So, good
All right.
statement.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Because I did that post on Facebook about people doing about working together
Mm-hmm.
and working together with each other, whether you like them or not.
Mm-hmm.
And then I forgot how to pronounce his first name, but it's Tdka, a young brother. He was talking about, well, how would you be able to do that? And I'm like, well, people don't want to follow rules. You swiftly deal with them. This is what you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
They whenever you say something like that, whenever you do something like that, they relate it to military, but
Right.
military is good though. Military
Right.
is
Yeah.
good.
That part is good.
And people don't
Yeah.
want to see that. Well, that's military. You don't do that in the military. That's only in the military. No, you can use that if you want to have a successful organization without having all this crap when it comes to people having no integrity,
Mm-hmm.
they can't tell the truth, no justice, no nothing.
Mm-hmm.
How else do you hold them accountable?
Yeah.
How else?
And what's important too is they'll be divided. You know what I mean? You can't have people come into your organization. You know what I mean? Well, first of all, when you're dealing with the military, they don't want to hear about you're a Muslim, that you're
That's
you're
right.
Catholic.
That's
They don't
right.
want you better you're a captain, you're a lieutenant, you're a sergeant, you're a corporal, you're a private, and this is how you're going to act.
This is how you're gonna act.
We don't care what your religion
We
is.
don't.
Mm-hmm.
So in order for us to be successful, we're going to have to actually adopt that philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly. I mean, push it a bit further.
Mm-hmm.
I would have a burning books, but I was just saying.
You're gonna be like who's the priest, the Portuguese priest that came into the Aztecs land and killed and burned every damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the book burning they had?
Yeah, I remember that priest. I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember his name either. He burned, everything was burnt, man. Me and Ty was talking about that too earlier. He burned everything.
That's how you do it, though.
That's a lot of reasons why it's so many question marks about the Maya, the land of the Maya, the land of the Aztecs, and the things of that nature. This is why, and even down in Chile in South America, why in Peru, why everything is so unsettled, unquestioned, unanswered, because all the history is gone.
Yeah, they just burned it.
All the history is gone.
They burned it.
So we're still looking.
Yeah, they burned it.
Anybody who thinks they know the answers to the history of those people,
they don't. No,
they don't know.
No, they don't.
They don't know.
No.
You can guess, but they don't know.
Yeah, they don't.
I mean, I can guess too, but they don't know.
I'm agreeing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Atahualpa, they burned him at the stake after they burned the books.
Mm-hmm.
They went Montezuma.
But that's their home.
It just Hitler learned all those lessons too.
Mm-hmm.
What to do is he burnt all their books in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Big gigantic bonfire right there. He burned everything there.
He did.
Mm-hmm. He said, we don't want nobody to know about y'all.
Yeah. So.
All right, so that's good, man. All right, we're done. I appreciate it.